Hello friends, how are you? Hope you are doing well. Today we are going to discuss about stakeholder engagement and materiality assessment. So let us start our discussion. First of all, let us understand what is the meaning of a stakeholder. A stakeholder has a vested interest in a company and can either affect or can be affected by a company's operations and performance. What can be the typical examples of stakeholders? Examples are like investors, employees, customers, suppliers, communities, NGOs, governments, or the trade associations. What is the meaning of stakeholder engagement? Stakeholder engagement is nothing but is a process by which companies communicate and get to know about their stakeholders. So this is a process by which an organization involves people who may be affected by the decisions of the organization or can influence the implementation of its decisions. So, why effective stakeholder engagement is necessary for any organization? Because effective engagement with stakeholders allows organizations to identify groups who may not support the organization, and knowing who does or does not support the organization allows for an opportunity to better understand the motivations, influences, and behaviors of those who are in opposition. What is good stakeholder engagement about? Stakeholder engagement or successful stakeholder engagement involves adapting your approach for each stakeholder, means consider who the stakeholder is and how often and why you should engage that stakeholder and what the desired outcome from that engagement is. Now, what makes a good stakeholder engagement plan? A stakeholder engagement plan is a formal strategy to communicate with the company's stakeholders to achieve their support for the project or the business. It specifies the frequency and the type of communications, media, contact persons, and locations of the communication events. What is a stakeholder engagement strategy? So, stakeholder engagement strategy is the systematic identification, analysis, and planning and implementation of actions designed to influence stakeholders. So, stakeholder engagement strategy identifies the needs of key groups, and the sponsors play a vital role in ensuring those business needs are being met or not. What are the steps of stakeholder engagement procedure? The steps are: first, identify your stakeholders and their champions and prioritize the stakeholders. Step 2 is making a stakeholder priority map. Okay, and then we go for developing a strategy for collaboration and communication with the stakeholder. So basically to develop the stakeholder engagement plan. Now, what are the 5 examples of stakeholder engagement strategy methods? Let's see some examples. Survey the stakeholders, prioritize the stakeholders by 2 factors, interest and influence, mapping the stakeholders to measure the ROI of the stakeholder engagement, and communicate company activities regularly with respect to the stakeholder engagement. And finally, log the meeting to maintain institutional knowledge. What is stakeholder engagement matrix? The stakeholder engagement matrix assessment matrix is a simple yet powerful project management technique to document desired and monitors actual engagement level of stakeholders, and it helps in identifying the potential gaps in the involvement of the stakeholders. How do you monitor stakeholders engagement? So the stakeholder engagement assessment matrix monitors stakeholder engagement through tracking the changes in the level of engagement for each stakeholder, and communication techniques those can be used in this process. For an example, feedback is used to ensure that the information to stakeholders is received and well understood as well. Next is about what is the stakeholder engagement survey. The stakeholder engagement surveys are used to measure the way the business internal and external stakeholders perceive about organizational practices in areas following as leadership, teamwork, reward and recognition, communication, engagement, policies and procedures, and organizational vision, goals, structure, and roles and responsibilities. How stakeholder engagement and ESG materiality assessment program help to the businesses? Because input from the key stakeholders and a comprehensive materiality assessment helps the organization to set the ESG strategy, commitments, and maximizing the impact. And ongoing analysis helps aligning the company's business to the changing social and environmental landscape as well. Now, what is an ESG materiality assessment? ESG materiality assessment is a tool used to identify and prioritize ESG issues. Those are the most critical to the organization. So you can think of this as an exercise in stakeholder engagement as well. So materiality assessment is a process of identifying, refining, and assessing numerous potential environmental, social, governance issues. Those could affect the business and or your stakeholders as well, and condensing them into shortlisting of the topics. Those inform companies' strategy, targets, and reporting. Why ESG materiality assessments are important for any business? ESG materiality information might be material to one group of stakeholders but immaterial to another. So that's why we say ESG materiality is subjective, and that's why it's so important to conduct an ESG materiality assessment. And this will help you to determine which information to collect and include in your reports and which information to leave out. Next is, why should investors focus on materiality when it comes to ESG issues? So materiality assessment is a vital starting point of ESG reporting. It's a very crucial step for any ESG reporting. An organization can get most benefit from their materiality process, in which they apply a sustainability lens to their business risk, opportunities, and trend spotting and enterprise risk management actually. So what is a materiality map? Materiality map is nothing but this was first developed by the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, which rank issues by the industry based on two type of evidences, like evidences that investors in the industry are interested in the issue, and evidences that the issue has the ability to impact companies within the industry. So what are the qualitative and quantitative factors for determining the materiality? Quantitative considerations is simply about the relative size of the items in the financial statements. On the other hand, qualitative factors usually include the nature of information, circumstances, and possible cumulative effect of error or omission of such information. So what is the materiality threshold? This is one more important subject which we utilize in the prioritization or selection of the materiality topics. So materiality thresholds are the dividing line between the material and immaterial information, and recognition materiality thresholds are the dividing line between what is recorded and what is not recorded in the materiality map. How does the materiality assessment serve development of a company's sustainability strategy? A materiality assessment allows the companies to identify, refine, and assess potential environmental, social, governance issues which are sufficiently important that they could inform corporate sustainability strategy and reporting. So we say sufficiently important that they should inform corporate sustainability strategy and reporting. So why materiality is important in sustainability? Because the process of materiality assessment shapes a company's sustainability strategy and defining its reporting as well. So it helps a company to analyze risk factors and upgrade its business process for future aspects as well. So materiality assessment is also an important tool to meet the expectations of the stakeholder. We say, what is double materiality in ESG? So double materiality concept describes how the corporate information can be important both for its implications about a firm's financial value and about a firm's impact on the stakeholders at large. So particularly with regard to the climate change and other environmental impacts and other social and governance related issues. So thank you very much for that now, and we will continue our discussion from the next. Thank you.